Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Extra Serving, a Nation's Restaurant News podcast. I am your host, Holly Petre. Today, we're going to be talking about the biggest news of the week, but also the least surprising. Red Lobster has declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In court documents, Red Lobster CEO Jonathan Tibus said that Red Lobster's seafood supplier, Thai Union, which is also its largest shareholder, may have had corporate mismanagement and possible shady dealings. A story which was filled with rumor and speculation has, as we found out through court documents, been quite complicated and dramatic. Also, we're going to be talking about marketing. Reminiscent of the IHOb move a few years ago, BurgerFi has changed its name to ChickenFi this week to promote its new chicken sandwiches. While it may seem silly, the name change worked for IHOP and led them to sell 4 times as many burgers. Will it work for BurgerFi? This week's guest is Sharif Mityas, CEO of Bricks Holdings. Now it's time to welcome my two lovely co-hosts back from the National Restaurant Association show.
Oh, thanks. I'm Sam Oches, Editor-in-Chief of Nation's Restaurant News.
And I'm Leigh Anne Zinsmeister, Managing Editor of Nation's Restaurant News.
Well, welcome back from Chicago, guys. You both sound healthy, which is the most important thing.
More than we can say for
progress,
some other folks we know.
Over previous years, progress over some other people, other events.
Very important.
Well done.
Good job, team. All right, so I've spoken with Alicia and Joanna on First Bite, so our listeners can go to those episodes. I will link them to hear what they thought about the event. But what did you guys think? We'll just go over it quickly because we have a lot of coverage on our website, so I don't want to overwhelm people. I just want some fun tidbits.
Fun tidbits.
Yeah.
I do not come prepared with. However, I can say generally it was a lot of fun times. I just can't make them in tidbit form. Look, it was a great show. We just, right before we came on here, found out that it was 6% growth over last year at 58,000 attendees, which is incredible. And you could feel it. I mean, the first day, Saturday, I was like, holy smokes, there's a lot of people here. And I've been to 13 of these things now, and that still felt overwhelming to me, which was a good thing. That's a good problem to have. Unless you're, walking from one side to the other, at which point it's not as fun. It's like walking through the most intense airport you've ever been in. But I made this comment to a lot of people, which is that it feels like people are way more optimistic than I expected. I mean, we just went through first quarter earnings and things felt very dire. Everything's starting to feel very 2008 up in here. And everybody at the show, I mean, for purely the amount of people at the show, it's a good sign because people are wanting to invest in their business. So, for whatever reason, it seems people are not as concerned about a lot of warning signs going off right now. And they want to invest in new products, new ideas. And that's a great thing for the industry and ultimately a great thing probably for the economy, because if the restaurant industry can hold on and invest and grind through this thing, then hopefully it will have the sort of economic soft landing that we've been talking about for 85 years.
Yeah, I think what struck me the most, besides the optimism amongst operators this year, is the way everybody is thinking about the same things right now. I had 2 interviews back to back with the marketing leads for Caribou Coffee and then Dividend Restaurant Group, which has multiple high-end steakhouse chains. And they both talked a lot about influencer marketing and loyalty programs. And if you had told me ahead of time that those 2 operators would have more in common than anyone else I talked to at the show, I mean, you can't get further away on the spectrum in terms of restaurants. But truly, everybody is thinking about the same things right now. And I do think that the show did a great job of focusing on those topics. The education program was way bigger this year than it has been in the past. And everything I heard was great about that. And I'm not just saying that because I was one of the speakers.
No big deal.
But yeah, everybody had the same things on their minds and hopefully came away with tools and resources for the year ahead.
I feel like this is just another, what you were talking about, Leigh Anne, just another reason for people to go read our power list, because marketing continues to be the theme of the year. Influencer marketing, you mentioned some stuff about Caribou before we started that is very cool and fun. So, I mean, you guys are right on the nose picking the power list. I mean, this is absolutely exactly what is happening for the year. So good job, team.
Hey, thank you. We'll take it. Yeah, I mean, look, and even if it's not influencer marketing, digital marketing, right? Because like Leigh Anne's saying, with loyalty too, reaching the consumer is of the utmost importance. Influencer marketing is one way to do that, of course, but really developing that relationship with the customer, getting their attention, giving them something appealing to come into your restaurant via digital channels, that is more broadly one of the most important things that restaurants can do today, because the tools are there, right? And I think that was, I'm sure Joanna talked about this with you, Holly, but one of the refreshing things about the show this year too is, yes, you have some novelty tech. I mean, last year there was robots everywhere, right? And I'm not talking just like, Flippy the robot. I'm talking robots that are serving you, right? Front of house robots. That was a big deal last year. And no offense to those robots who, are not sentient and have feelings. So I don't necessarily need to say that, but that's not going anywhere. That's a novelty. Front of house robots serving you drinks and things. I just don't see that as the future of the restaurant industry. But in the back of house, I sure do. And automation and AI and all those, like, that's where, thankfully, there were not as many robots on the show floor, but there was a lot of automated tech, and that's where I think so much of the excitement is. And so, which is just to illustrate, like, the digital tools available to the restaurant industry, of course, are more impressive than ever before, but importantly, they're more affordable than ever before. And so digital marketing is one of the ways in which you can employ this tech to connect with the customer at a time when you really need to the most.
Something just flew down as you were sitting there, Sam, like a bug or something, just right down your screen. It was kind of creepy, but almost like a little cool. Just for anybody who wants to go see our video version, you can watch the little thing fall.
Am I entering the Matrix?
Maybe. So
I don't see anything.
What I missed the most about the show this year was all the gossip and drama. And are you guys surprised?
Why do I feel like you're about to ask us inappropriate questions about our coworkers?
No, I had
save that for NRN after.
I had people talking to me the whole weekend. I'm aware.
You already got the gossip. Okay, then you want to catch us up, because I didn't hear any.
Yeah, really.
Oh, I got it in real time. So my segue there was that Red Lobster's got a lot of drama. This is juicy.
That was a topic of conversation at the show, because that happened Sunday night. Weekend, so Monday morning, we all woke up to that seismic news.
But like Brett's piece that I will also link in the show notes, he does a real deep dive into exactly what's happening. And it is a lot. There is a lot of drama with Thai Union and who they hired at Point to help their endless seafood deal, but also get Thai Union more seafood. And, he was mismanaging, and their new CEO, who, as Brett so lovingly called him, the Grim Reaper of restaurants, he on a podcast. You said right there. So he, they always say that he's the turnaround guy who's going to drive places, but it's interesting about that this was so much more complicated on the back end than I think any of us ever realized. Looking at Red Lobster, we saw their sales were down. We saw their marketing was down. We saw, they weren't doing great. Their traffic that had been piling up over all these years, casual dining was suffering, but it's a lot more complicated behind the scenes than just a traditional restaurant operations and one brand going to Chapter 11. So, I mean, what were you guys talking about at the show, and what is something that you've kind of thought about as it goes further?
Well, when I talk about feeling like 2008, this is kind of what I mean, which is that the first quarter was really bumpy. I mean, a lot bumpier than we expected. When you have companies like Starbucks having same-store sales decreases, something is amiss. And across the board, with the exception of some, crazy performers like your Dutch Bros, your Texas Roadhouses, and those kinds of brands, you see pretty much every restaurant company struggling with traffic. And it's been going on long enough now that it just starts to feel a little ominous. And again, this is sort of like the recession. Of course, these sort of ingredients that came together in the recession to cause that economic slump were much, much different. But what's going on today is still very impactful to the industry. So I say all that because it's like to have such an iconic, huge company like Red Lobster go bankrupt if this had happened in, just 2019, it'd have been like, huh, what a curious thing. Now it's like, oh no, are we about to see more of these? But I don't know, because when you read the story, to your point, Holly, this is all kinds of drama. I mean, there's a lot of mismanagement going on here. To your point, Thai Union, majority shareholder of Red Lobster, and this endless shrimp deal that everybody's talking about as being the reason for the bankruptcy. It was a big part of it, right? And Thai Union seemed to have been very manipulative in making this thing happen. Yes, that's all very, very dramatic. But suffice to say, it's like that's just the sort of the extra layer for Red Lobster that got them there. There's also the fact that casual dining in general is struggling right now because of labor costs and occupancy costs and food costs. And of course, the momentum, like to be able to get, again, customers in your doors. Casual dining is having a lot harder of a go at that because they don't have the same kind of off-premises promise for our convenience-oriented consumer like the QSRs and fast casuals do. So it's really coming at it from all sides with Red Lobster, with that extra dollop of drama, as we just mentioned. And so it's really interesting. Now, it's funny, we were talking on the Slack channel earlier. Brett Thorne, who wrote that story, was mentioning how many people think Chapter 11 means this business just goes away. Of course, that's not the case. Chapter 11 is just a process you have to go through to emerge, on the other side as a stronger business, having paid off your creditors. And Jonathan Tibus, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Jonathan. I say as if I know this guy, but he's called the Grim Reaper because it's at least his fourth restaurant company that he's come in to reorganize and navigate through Chapter 11. Quiznos, Crystal, and Kona Grill being some of the other ones, I guess the other ones. And so, what we'll see is what happens on the other side of this thing, because the point of Chapter 11, again, is to pay off creditors, to restructure, and to make this a viable business. That could include very ugly cutting, closing, et cetera, right? Like Red Lobster could be a significantly different company on the other side of this, but it's still an iconic brand, whether you like it or not, right? This is still a company that's been around forever. It is the leader in seafood casual dining, which, whether or not that means anything to Americans anymore, I don't know, but I think it still has enough of a place as a brand that many years in the future, we could be like, wow, look how they reemerged from this. But boy, do they have a long road to hoe to get there. And so, yeah, I don't even know what your original question was, but that's kind of what was on top of my mind when we all found this out at the show. I guess I'll finish by saying it was not a surprise, right? We've been talking about it for a while. This is about to happen. Sure enough, it happened. So we'll see where this goes from here.
Well, it's really interesting because Brett and I, in that episode of First Bite that, released the day after the bankruptcy, like 6 hours after the bankruptcy, we were talking about how Red Lobster has been resting on its laurels for a while. It hasn't been doing marketing. It hasn't been innovating. It was just kind of discounting. And, they missed that big opportunity when Beyonce sang about Red Lobster. If you want to hear Brett talk about what it is, go listen to the podcast because he is quite comedic. But they missed a lot of opportunities over the years. They haven't been marketing versus like Chili's and Applebee's. We had those marketing directors in our power list. Like they're doing things, they're innovating. They may not have done well this quarter, but they have a way to go. They were positive in 2023. So, we see that Red Lobster just isn't up with the times. And I think, they released that AI playlist on YouTube recently. Like that was their latest marketing move. And so they're just behind it when it comes to that. And I don't think that's helping them move forward in addition to all these internal problems that have been happening for years. I've really brought the house down with that comment. Thanks, guys.
Wow, I just started checking my email. I thought Leigh Anne would have thoughts on that, but
You thought Leigh Anne would have thoughts. I mean, really, nothing original in my thoughts. But I think from the outside, it seems like Red Lobster has kind of taken the attitude the last few years of like just maintaining the status quo and saying, well, we've always done it this way and it's worked for us, so we'll just keep doing it this way. And that's not working for them anymore. And I would say that's probably been true for the last couple years. I think it's been about 2 years since they started playing like musical chairs with their CEOs, and that kind of raised some eyebrows. But at that point, it may have been too late to turn the ship around, so to speak. So yeah, definitely not a surprise. I also don't think any of us were surprised to get the news on Sunday evening during the show. That just seemed very like to be expected. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm eager to see what comes out of it. You know, those other 3 brands that Sam mentioned are all still around. Some I might say like to more success than others. So I'm curious to see what becomes of Red Lobster, but it's certainly not a death sentence.
Okay, so moving on to the BurgerFi, ChickenFi, which when I was telling Leigh Anne about the story, she hated it. So mainly because they named their CEO like Chief Chicken Officer, which was an interesting move in the press release. But you know, they're trying. I don't know if it's too late to have a chicken sandwich. Honestly, it's 2024. If this is your first chicken sandwich, I'm not really positive if that's the right idea. But they have 2 chicken sandwiches now, a grilled and a fried. But they made this move in a very similar way to IHOb. That was a big deal when they had that IHOb. I mean, it was everywhere. That news was like you couldn't turn on the TV without seeing it. And so this is really interesting because everybody made fun of IHOb, but it worked. So who's to say that this won't work? I mean, it's a much smaller chain, so I don't know if it'll have the same reach that IHOP had, but I mean, they're thinking, they're doing innovative things, and they're trying to make it work. So what do you guys think?
I mean, IHOP and BurgerFi are not even the same planet as far as branding, right? Like IHOP is an institution. It is a American staple. When you say IHOP, that means something to Americans. BurgerFi, no offense, does not. It's just not. Second time I had to say that. I don't know how many people I offend with this podcast. I apologize to all of you. I mean, BurgerFi's fine brand, right? It's people just don't know what that is like they know what IHOP is. So it's like if a national chain with brand affinity and a position in the cultural zeitgeist does a rebrand like this, it means something. That's why IHOP got so much attention. When a brand that does not have that affinity outside the communities in which it serves, then I don't think it's going to make so much of a splash. It's not to say this is not the right marketing campaign. Heck, we're talking about it. But like, it's interesting because I guess burger restaurants having chicken is not so far-fetched. IHOP serving burgers was wild, right? Like that was like, whoa, what? But a burger chain should have a chicken on your menu, right? Like a chicken sandwich. So I don't know. If we're talking about it, it means it got our attention. It seems like they really went all in on this, to your point, because they're even renaming their executives or the titles. But yeah, it is. I can't say I would recommend this for other restaurants because it's a big investment. If you want to change your branding, your signage, your website, I don't know how much they actually changed, but like that's a big investment. You better be ready to, you gotta be confident that this is actually going to get people's attention.
It was definitely one of those press releases, and I know you felt this way too, Holly, where you have to go through line by line and figure out what's real and what's not. Because the press release was dead serious. We're changing our name to ChickenFi. Like, all in. Not, and it's like, okay, well, like, that's a marketing play, but like then you have to go through and figure out, okay, well, like you're not really rebranding, you're not really naming the marketing guy the chief feather officer, I think it was, but like you are introducing new chicken sandwiches. Like I'm pretty sure that part's true, but this part's not. So that's always I was gonna say a fun game to play, but like if you're making journalists do that much work to like parse out the what the news is here, I was more annoyed than amused. So I hope that they get the marketing turnaround that they were looking for on that one. I am thinking that I should probably text my friends in South Florida and see what kind of traction this is getting locally, because definitely with IHOP, I remember the day the news came out, and we had known for a few days, but the day that like the news stories came out, I like was out with some friends that night and they were all like, Leigh Anne, what's going on with IHOP? Like, what is this? And I can't say I've heard from a single person about BurgerFi, ChickenFi this week. So I should, see if it's getting more local news traction. But again, we're here talking about it. And to your point, Holly, like maybe this is the kind of marketing stunt you have to do now if you're going to talk about a chicken sandwich, because if they had just put out a press release that said, we have a chicken sandwich now, we all would have said, okay, you and everyone else. So I don't know. Interested to see what becomes like in the next quarter's report.
May this be a message to all of you publicists out there.
Honestly.
how cynical we can be, and woe to you who sends us an April Fool's Day press release, because we do not bite that bait. So.
Well, and something that they said in the press release that we've kind of heard from other brands too is they were saying, we serve this chicken on Sundays too. And Shake Shack had that whole promotion, and I just think it's getting tired. Like, just sell your chicken 7 days a week. You don't need to you don't need to like get at Chick-fil-A. You're never going to win that battle. I just feel like, just sell your chicken. Just do it. I don't know. I don't think there's a need for fighting words there. And I love fighting words. So if I'm saying it, you really,
we can
there's no need. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining me today. I'm going to turn it over to Joanna's interview with Sharif Mityas, CEO of Brix Holdings. And I hope I said his name right, but feel free to email me. But I'm going to thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Hi, I'm Joanna Fantozzi, Senior Editor with Nation's Restaurant News, and I am here with Sharif Mityas, CEO of Brix Holdings. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Joanna. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's next on the horizon for Brix? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you guys are going through a lot of brand modernizations and technology upgrades, even new concepts like Jukebox. So tell me a bit about what's been going on for the company.
Yeah, we have a collection of 7 great brands. And, we have the Friendly's brand, which is an 89-year-old iconic brand in the Northeast, and completely reformulating it. New menu, new design. We're about to open our brand new restaurant in Orlando, Florida, and really extend the brand into new parts of the country. We're looking to build one soon where our headquarters is in Dallas, Texas. Changed completely to your point, the tech stack, new POS, new back office, new online ordering opportunities for our guests. And then we're also continuing to improve our other brands, Red Mango and Orange Leaf, also growing in the frozen yogurt space with new technology available to our guests, new in-store experiences for kids, young and old, to enjoy a frozen yogurt treat. And then to your point, we just launched a new brand called Pizza Jukebox, a fully automated pizza concept where a robot makes your machine, your pizza. And we also upgraded our Smoothie Factory brand with Smoothie Factory Plus Kitchen with new kitchen innovations, new food concepts, really extending the day parts for our guests.
So I love the juxtaposition of having an 89-year-old brand and then also this new robot-run brand. So can you tell me a bit about why Jukebox was a good fit for you guys?
Yeah, we've always been intrigued with the opportunity to create an experience for our guests. And you can do that, obviously, with the people you have, the music in your restaurant, the hospitality, the ambiance. But in today's day and age, people are looking for something new. They're looking for something innovative. And we know there's been automation that is continuing to increase in the restaurant space, but that automation has mostly been in back of house. We felt, let's bring the automation and the cool aspects of automation and put it in front of our guests. What if they could see the robot make their pizza? And it just so happens the pizza spins like on a record player when it's being made, hence Pizza Jukebox. And it takes about 3.5 minutes, about the time of your favorite song, to make a delicious hot pizza. And for us, it was the perfect juxtaposition of great new cool concept, great food, and bringing something very different and very unique from an experiential perspective to our guests.
How many locations does that have right now?
Oh, we only have a couple right now, so it's just started. To your point, we have 89-year-old and we have 89-day-year-old brand.
I absolutely love that. That's really cool. And so how do you, I guess, make sure that your brands, I mean, Friendly's, but also including other brands, are making sure that they have an updated tech stack, and just kind of what does that tech modernization look like?
Yeah, I think for us, at the end of the day, our technology roadmap and what we look and pursue has to make sense either to the guest or to our team members. Because if it's just a shiny new tool, if it's just something that's kind of neat, but doesn't really provide value at the end of the day, doesn't provide something unique, and creates an opportunity for either our team members to do their jobs better or our guests to have a better experience, then it's not worth it to us, and it's not going to be something in our roadmap. And so we take a really fine-tooth comb, kind of a filter, on what's the purpose, what's the value proposition for either our team members or guests, and if it crosses those two filters, then we pursue it, we look into it, and we make sure it's the right thing for our brands.
Can you give me an example of a piece of technology that you guys have invested in recently that you think is great for the company?
Yeah, I would do a shout out to my friend Zach Oates from Ovation. So we were struggling with really how to capture and how to not only capture, but to react to guest feedback and to understanding kind of what are our guests telling us that we can then use to make the experience better. And so we used to have some sort of system that we would get 1 or 2 surveys per store per month. I now get 200 per day. So you can imagine the amount of guest feedback coming to us that tells us what they like and don't like about our menu, about our service model, about our design, about our ambiance, and we utilize that every week to make things better. So in terms of this continuous improvement, using technology and the voice of our guest, it's been an invaluable tool for us.
You mentioned the smoothie innovation. I wasn't aware of that. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so smoothies, obviously a growing sector, continuing to grow. And what we've been doing is really looking at how do we improve the consistency and the timeliness of creating a smoothie. No one likes to wait once they've ordered, and no one likes to have their favorite smoothie made differently. So we're utilizing technology and back-of-house kind of automation innovation to create consistent smoothies in about half the time. So think about that now. You're on the go, you're in a drive-through, you're on your way to the gym, or you're on your way back, you need to get to work. Your favorite smoothie, made in half the time, ready to go, tastes great, great price.
That is pretty amazing. And so something I'm curious about, you have all of these new key components, some technology backed, and some of these, and the new pizza jukebox concept. Do you think that those would ever combine? Maybe would you do a co-branded initiative, perhaps? Am I reading your mind?
You are reading my mind, and in fact, our first pizza jukebox is co-branded with Red Mango. It is one of our frozen yogurt concepts. We put the two together because it extends the day parts, extends the opportunity for some of our brands to offer more to guests across the day. And so we see a lot of opportunity to bring our brands together, and maybe in certain cases tri-brand, to bring more of almost a food hall effect to some of our portfolio.
I love that. It's kind of combining what we saw during the pandemic, which was a lot of virtual food halls, and kind of bringing that in person. Can we expect maybe a food hall in the future from Brix?
You never say never. So we're looking at that, and to your point, there's even opportunities where we can make food in one of our kitchens for the other brands for off-premise only. So we can be our own ghost kitchen in certain locations where it makes sense we have the space in the back of house, we have the right ingredients, we can offer more than just what the brand is on the door.
Right, I love that, and kind of using that hub and spoke model that a lot of ghost kitchens have done, but then you are in control of the product.
Exactly right.
That is pretty amazing. And so I guess looking forward to, besides what we already spoke about, is there anything that you are excited for in 2024 and beyond for Brix?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing for us is we're on the hunt to grow. So not just organically in terms of new locations. We're going to open about 15 new locations this year across our brands. But we're also in, I would say, deep negotiations to acquire new brands into our portfolio. You heard it here first. And we're looking forward to really continuing to grow our scale and the ability for us to bring new and exciting emerging brands into our Brix family.
That is pretty amazing. And so I'm sure you can't tell me exactly who or what you might be looking to acquire, but what kind of categories do you think would be smart to get into next?
Well, I think there's complementary to some of our brands, the kind of the healthy food for you, healthy cuisine types. We see opportunities in kind of more that fast casual QSR healthy space that's continuing to grow. And so you'll potentially see some of those brands enter our family.
That is pretty huge. From the data that we've gotten from our friends at Technomic, we have learned that sandwiches, salads, and smoothies, the 3 S's, are huge. And so they're really good concepts to be getting into, especially within that health food space.
We couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that in the future. I think that's a great note to end on. Sharif, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.